Repair is definitely going to be part, especially if we're talking about a tool library. Libraries of things also, I'm sure, many in the broader sense are going to have things that need to be repaired. Find your partners. Many libraries are the hub for fix-it fairs and repair cafes within the community. Consider being that hub, but if one already exists, elevate those programs, share those opportunities, be a partner, be an ally. If you have local repair shops that are doing that work, we also want to, I would suggest, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I would suggest elevating that work. It is important work. It's beneficial work, not trying to take away their market share by providing those things. Find a way to work with them to maybe get a discounted rate for the library, maybe get a discounted rate for members or volunteers. Finding ways that you can be supportive of each other. And then something else that has been really successful with Lents is to let volunteers remotely repair things rather than having to repair them on site. So if a tool has a dull blade, they want to take it home and borrow it, bring it back with a fixed blade, maybe do some electrical repairs, things like that. When space is at a premium, repair space also can be at a premium. And also, sometimes you're only open for 2 hours or an hour or 3 hours. And sometimes repairs take a lot longer. So giving people the opportunity to borrow tools maybe above their tool limit, or maybe for free if you happen to be charging some rate for a more expensive tool, giving them the opportunity to take those tools home and do that work. Because ultimately, if the tool is broken, it's not serving anyone. If it's damaged or dull, it can be dangerous. So leveraging those opportunities for the benefit of the whole inventory and for the community. Scavenging is a big benefit of a robust repair system. If you have things like power cords, switches on your lawnmowers, leaf blowers, whatever they happen to be, and wheels, think about small things that you can easily take off, reuse, and store. And then consider developing capacity. We've had a little bit of success in Lents with funding to do some workshop, but if you don't have a robust repair system, try and establish one. Find someone that can lead an instruction on sharpening, replacing blades, replacing electrical cords. Really develop that capacity so that you can be a partner in that effort to try and just generally reduce the waste. Finding a balance that fits for your community is important in all these steps. Repair is no different. So you want to think about the budget for trying to repair things that have discontinued parts or components or may need to be shipped quite a ways. It's definitely something to keep in mind. The amount of time that goes into repair, the amount of space that goes into storing things while you wait for those parts to arrive. These are all inputs. If it aligns with your goals and your mission to reduce your impact and maintain your inventory 100%, it's a pretty low input in my experience. But having a plan and knowing that it's part of your development strategy, making space for it, making time for it, making budget for it, broken tools can add up quickly, especially if you don't have a plan and you don't have your space clearly laid out. So do take that planning part seriously. If you're trying to take in broken tools to repair in order to grow your inventory, that might be ambitious. Have an inventory, be operational before you take that approach would be my advice. Repairing tools, again, can take a lot longer than you think it's going to. So it's a good way to boost things. For big, expensive items or items that are hard to find, it's a really great way to do that. If you have a cider press or you want to have a cider press and you can find a broken cider press, that's repairable. That's functional. That's a great strategy for doing that. If you get a giant box of broken electrical power drills, you're probably not going to have a lot of success repairing enough of those to really make a dent in your inventory. So briefly, I just wanted to take a look at this repair workflow, and mainly because, like I said, there is time in between every one of these steps. And so you have to have storage capacity for all of these things and really design a space that's going to consider all of it. When you get your tool, need to have time for your repair person or someone who's competent in that to make their assessment, figure out what parts they need. You then administratively need to have budget approved to order those parts, find them online, get them delivered, and then reconnect that repair person with that tool to get it installed, and then hopefully it works. Again, 100% worth the effort in almost every case, but space, do be considerate of space and make sure you have an organizational plan for that. Because if you lose a screw or you lose a couple of little parts, then you've got a net negative. And especially if you just spent money on those parts, you can really be in a rough spot. All right. And then sadly, not every tool can be repaired. Where do our tools go into the tool afterlife? Planning for salvaging your parts, right? You want to be able to recover things. Small things are easy to recover. Maybe you're really feeling ambitious, or maybe you've built out a fleet of, let's say, wheelbarrows or lawnmowers. Parts can be moved between broken ones and stored for long-term use. Those things can be big, so have a plan for that. Have a plan to keep them out of the weather so that they don't, degrade and start to rust and fall apart or rot. In the meantime, have a plan for storing disposal things so that you can, again, keep them out of the weather. Big tools make big waste piles. Hopefully, I think, I'm not trying to scare anybody here. We don't have a lot of tools that we get rid of. We've got over 3,000 tools in our inventory at Green Lens. Lawnmowers can go, but most of our other tools, they do last a long time. We don't have a ton of disposal needs, but you do want to plan for it. You don't want to be stuck with a pile, or unfortunately, you really don't want to be stuck having to set a busted lawnmower out in the rain for 6 weeks and let it get snowed on, and that becomes just a whole issue. And then material recovery, a waiting area for things to sit, specifically big things that are going to sit on the ground and take up a lot of floor space. Have a spot where you can store those things. If you're going to be breaking things down for their metal components, whether you're trying to collect scrap in order to actually make some money and recover some funds, or if you just want to be doing the responsible part of being part of the material recovery recycling program, where you're separating parts as much as you can. Make sure you have space for that. Heavyweight floor storage if you're storing big pieces of metal. If you have a plastic recovery program, a robust recycling program near you, that's amazing. Please tell me about it. Let me know how that's working out. I don't think it's news to anyone that plastic recycling is a challenge. So if we can avoid things getting into the trash and getting into landfills, it's fantastic. My only experience on it is that Portland has been pretty good about plastic recycling and giving people alternative ways. But a lot of times those products end up just being more consumer products that maybe aren't really actually necessary or needed. So yes, it's a second life, but it's still feeding into that consumer overconsumption habit. So better than ending up in a landfill. If you've got solutions and you've got companies that you've been able to connect with, please share it with everybody.